So on this screen, our main screen here, we are, hold on real quick, get rid of this. That's done. Close that. So we worked with text. We created some text. We looked at how we can use animation presets and how some of them work better than others. And one thing that I failed to talk about is that when you use an animation preset with text, that you have to use a text animation preset for it to work. You can apply other animations to a text object because it is an object. It has a place, it has an X and a Y position, it's got placement on the timeline, and so some of the generative presets will work, but they don't necessarily do anything with the text inside. So a text object inside of After Effects is a very unique thing, and there are a lot of properties that are exposed that we can control to animate that text in interesting ways. And so with these text animators, I think I accidentally grabbed another animation preset and tried that, and then everything got sideways. So what I'm going to do real quick is we're going to fill out a little bit about what was missing from the lesson on Monday, and then we're going to look at some more practical and simple text animation solutions. And in so doing, it will help us to understand the complexity of the preset text animation stuff that's available to us. Okay, so first up, let's create a new comp and make sure that the preset is the HD 29.97 frames per second. And instead of 30 seconds, we're going to do 10 seconds. So the comp name is going to be today's date. GRC 53 underscore 250827 underscore your last name underscore first initial. And this is going to be LECT. And so we have in our project panels, we have the composition that we just created. It is also down here in the composition timeline. There's its name, its tab right there. Also the render queue also has a tab there. I'm going to get rid of that though. All right, I'm going to choose my text tool, and I'm going to click somewhere kind of in the middle on the left hand side here, and we're going to type something like that. And then we're going to hit the return key. And we're going to say, I like, and then your favorite kind of food. And then your favorite season. Why not? Now, because we have the text object selected and we are still able to type text, and I know that because there's this red line right there, that is called the cursor. And wherever that cursor is, when I type on the keyboard, that's where text is going to type. So if I click over here at the beginning of the word season, now the cursor is there, and if I type some letters, it gets typed there. The properties panel on the left-hand side over here is context sensitive to whatever is engaged with in the composition viewer or in the composition timeline. They are one and the same. So because I have clicked on this text, you can see that this comp layer is, or sorry, this text layer is selected. And as a result of that, I can change things like typeface. Now, here's the weird thing though. When I choose a new typeface, it's not going to change anything. Even though it says I've changed it to Snell Roundhand, whatever that is, it's only right there where the cursor is. So if I want to change the entire text typeface, I need to hit Command A to select everything, and then I can choose a typeface. And consequently, if you want to make some of these words a different color, you can select just the word and choose a different color. You can also, if the typeface allows it, you can set the word to bold. Groovy. Okay, so that's basically where we started off on Monday. Now, if I want to move this text in the comp window, if I want to place it in space here, I've got to go to my selection tool, and then I can grab this object and move it around. Now, if I want to apply any kind of scaling or rotational transformation, there's this thing called the anchor point or the registration point. I call it the point of origination. It exists wherever you started typing, and it sets the focal point of where those rotations, or if you scale, it scales from that little marker there. That might not be ideal. We might want to rotate from the center. And so we can manually change the anchor point position if we drag the X and the Y in the properties here. You can see I can bring that anchor point into the center. Do your keyboards have a number pad on them? Okay, so we're going to try an experiment. So there's a shortcut to do this. Do you have a home key on your keyboard? Okay, so let's try this. With the text selected there with our selection tool, hit Command Option Home. Oh, yes, it worked. And now your registration point is in the center of your object. And it's perfectly in the center. We did on Monday was a manual adjustment. Wasn't perfect. It got the job done though. So you can manually move that anchor point, or you can use the shortcut Command Option Home. Now where it gets funky is if you don't have a home key, or your home key is like on the 7 key. Then you have to do Command Option and then hold the FN key down and then hit 7. And if there's no number pad, then you have to do Command Option FN left arrow. And they don't all work. If you have a home key, Command Option function left arrow key doesn't do anything. It's like the program knows that there is a that key exists or doesn't exist. So there it is. But this will all be in the notes. I'm going to drop all of my notes in there so you'll have that reference, so you can know all the different ways to center that registration mark. And again, the anchor point being in the center now, if we rotate, it's going to rotate around that anchor point, and that looks way better. All right. If you hover over the animation, or sorry, the composition preview, just kind of bring your mouse in the center here, and then try scrolling your mouse forward and back. And you may have accidentally experienced this. Now, if you hit Command 0, that does not zoom out. It gets rid of your project panel. So hit Command 0 again if you hit that to bring the project panel back. You can center it if you need to. If you need to zoom to it, you can do fit here, and that will zoom it to where it needs to be zoomed to. Okay, let's save this real quick. Oh, we didn't create a folder for today, so let's do that. Inside of our GRC53, so here we're going to do it a different way. So I'm going to choose to save, so I'm going to choose File, Save. It's going to bring up this dialog box. If you don't see any of the hard drive information or your desktop or anything like that, if it's very simple like this, just click that little down pointing chevron, and then you have access to select the OneDrive folder, FCC folder, GRC53, and then you can click on New Folder here to create a new folder, and we're going to call it GRC53 _ 250827. And make sure you don't have one of the other day folders selected, because you will create this folder inside of one of those folders. Not the end of the world, but I mean, it might be. It certainly feels like it. And then we're going to name the project, so save as up here. GRC53 _ 250827 _ your last name _ first initial _ LECT, and then save. Okay, so if you're just joining us, all we've done is created a new composition in After Effects, and we added some text to it. Anyway, so some typefaces show up on your selection as available, and it looks like it's going to understand it, and you might be able to use those typefaces like in Acrobat or in Photoshop or Illustrator. So yeah, so if you're typing, no text is showing up, but it looks like something is being typed. That's because After Effects cannot interpret that typeface. So before I do the next part, I want to bring your attention to so again, the tilde key, it's the one just above the tab key. I have my comp timeline window selected. You can see it's got the outline of the blue around it. If I hit the tilde key, then it goes full screen. All the other panels are still there. They're just pushed away. And this allows me to fully open up all of the options that are available for this text layer. And on most other objects, we have just the transform by default, and we can keyframe anchor point, position, scale, rotation, and then the opacity, or how transparent it is. But for a text object, we have this one here called text, and if I twirl down that, we have a lot of other options that are available to us. And I'm not going to go into anything, but not yet anyway. I just want to show you that those are available, because a text object is a unique object within After Effects. Only the text object has these things like path options and these more options. Things like anchor point grouping, fill and stroke, inter-character blending. All of that stuff is part of text objects only. Okay. So I'm going to go back out, hit the tilde key to pull this out, and I'm going to grab the blurs in my effects and presets. I'm going to twirl down text, and I'm going to grab blur and fade in, and I'm going to click and drag it onto the text object. Now when I do that, a couple things happen. Number one, on the left hand side, my project panel up here has disappeared. It is still there. If I click that fly out, the little two double greater than signs, there's my project panel. These are effects controls. For the most part, we don't need to get into all these. What I do want to bring your attention to, though, is what has happened to our text object in the comp timeline. There are a lot more things to touch, aka mess up as well. We're going to build something like this from scratch at the next part of this in a few minutes here. But understand that all of these things are part of the text object only, and these all exist here because we dragged, or I dragged, an animation preset. An animation preset is a collection of options that you have added. And the two things to pay attention to are this one right here, animate, and then add. Because we can animate based on certain, or we can animate certain properties of the text, and then we can add other properties to animate with those properties.
Before you go too far.
What's that?
In this stage, you should have again.
Okay. So, were you able to add the
I get everything, but then when you hit
the tilde key?
yeah.
Yeah, so make
Get the whole.
Gotcha. So yeah, so with the tilde key, this is all expanded. Normally that's collapsed like that. If you hit the command, if you hold down the command key and then twirl that thing down, it opens up almost everything. There's another shortcut too. If you hit the with the layer selected, if you hit the U key twice or once hides it, twice opens it up. It will open up the essential stuff. So UU, I want to say W, but that's a different letter. So UU, double click or double tap it twice, and then it will open up these properties. Okay, what the heck is this right here? This is what's called an expression. And this is the coding language that's built into After Effects. We will not touch this until much further into the semester. I do not want to. This will be a train wreck if you try and get into this, especially if you've never done JavaScript before. But you can control a lot of these properties through programmatically. We can randomize stuff. We can create a range of numbers for it to cycle through. This is very powerful, and this is what makes After Effects a very cool generative thing. If we are creating, let's say, fire, we can layer multiple videos of fire, and we've created fire. Or we can use particle generators inside of After Effects and actually use expressions to create the fire, and then it's unique and it's genuine, it's random, it's something that's created right there in time, and it's loopable, more importantly. Okay. So I just wanted to show you that. We didn't really talk about that. We kind of just rushed through all of that on Monday's class. So I want to make sure we understand there is quite a bit of options here. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Now, sometimes you may drag a preset onto a text layer and you may think, uh-oh, I didn't want that. What do I get rid of here? So, with the text layer selected, from the menu at the top, you're going to choose Animation and then remove all text animators. Yeah. So if I click Remove All Text Animators, that removes the the added animation pieces, but it does not remove the effects. So I have to then select the effects property group within the text layer and then hit the delete key. Now,
It wasn't blur and faded.
yes, that's the one that we had used. Okay, and so now my text is back to normal. Nothing is affecting it at all. So if you have added blur and fade in, we're going to remove that from the text layer. So choose the text layer, animation, and then remove all text animators. Mine isn't highlighted because I've already removed them. And then down in the options for that text layer, there'll be one that says, well, I'll just add this back in there so you can see it. There we go. So with that layer selected, we're going to choose animation, remove all text animators, and then the effects right here. I'm going to select that and then delete it. And so we should just have text and transform.
Why are we deleting the effects?
Because we're gonna do something else. Yeah, and plus it's important for us to know how to do that as well. All right, now what we're gonna do is, so we went through adding a text animation preset. Remember, we can't just drag any effect onto, I mean we can, but if we want to see the weird things that affect each individual letters, we have to use this animation preset, and it has to be one of the text ones. The blurs are probably the most popular, but there's all kinds of other guys that we can use in there. Well, we're not going to go through that right now. What I am going to do is show you how you can preview all those without having to add them to that text layer and then go through the process of removing it if you don't like it. So we're going to use a program. I hope it's installed on these computers. If not, it's going to make this significantly shorter. First of all, let's save everything. Command S for snake. Okay. Now I'm going to select my text layer. So I know it's selected because it has the words here highlighted. That layer is now selected. And from the menu at the very top, I'm going to choose Animation and then Browse Presets. Animation, Browse Presets. And it's important that the text layer is selected before we do this. Ah, good. Bridge is installed. Hot dang. Yes, if it asks you any questions, say yes or allow. Should be 3 questions. Oh, no, 4. There we go. If you get this pop-up menu that says what's new, you can just hit the red X to close it out. So Bridge is, especially if you're a photographer or digital photographer, Bridge is a great program. In this instance, is going to allow us to preview those text animations, text animation presets, to see if it's something that we want to use, and then we can apply it back into After Effects. So right here, this window, Content Presets. Okay, so I'm going to double click on this text folder. The interface is still very 1990s. This is what software looked like in the 90s. I'm sorry. It's not intuitive, but it is what it is. So I double clicked on the text folder, and here's our blurs that we were looking at earlier. Double click on that, And then if you click on one of these guys, don't double click, just click on it. And then over in the right hand side here, you can click that play button and you can preview and see, even drag across there to see what it looks like. I've gone through the blurs. I don't like them. I want to try something else. So I'm going to go back to text. Up here at the top, click back to text, and let's look at some of these other text presets. Organic is a fun one. Also, you don't have to click that play button. You can actually hit the space bar while the effect is selected. And you can use your arrow keys also to navigate. Okay. So once you find one, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to navigate one more. Lights and optical. Let's try that one. That's fun. I like that one. So I found one that I like. I think it works with me because I'm mostly lit, but there's a little bit of me that's not as light as it should be. Some parts are kind of dim in my brain. Yeah, office light is the one I want. Okay. So once you've got one, make sure it's selected. And then you're going to right click and choose Place in Adobe After Effects 2025. Now, this is weird how it works because it feels like maybe you're exporting the effect to After Effects. That effect already exists there. The place part is that we have After Effects 2025 open and we have a layer, text layer selected. So when I choose place, it's going to place that effect inside After Effects 2025. If you choose to place in After Effects 2024, nothing's going to happen because After Effects 2024 shouldn't be open because we should be running 2025. So let's select that one. And it should bring us back. Now leave bridge open until we have rendered this thing out. So what's cool is that my timeline here is 10 seconds long. Trying to do this through standard keyframes would be an absolute headache. You would have to break each letter up into its own object and then keyframe animate each one, and you wouldn't be able to randomize it. You would have to manually choose the letters that you wanted to act on. And this one, it feels pretty random, right? So let's save this. I love it. I think it's cool. All right, here we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to hide this layer. How do we do that? So this icon right here, that eyeball, we'll click on that. The layer is still there, but it's now hidden. All right, so I'm going to create a new text object with my text tool. And we're going to say Dan Wong is the cool. Oh, hey Dan, how's it going? So I just typed this. To get to a new line, I hit the enter key. What if I want the text to wrap, though, inside of a specific boxed area? Don't do this. This is just for your enjoyment. Sit back, watch the film here. I'm going to, with my text tool, I'm going to hide, first of all, I'm going to hide that layer. I'm going to click and drag a text area. So that text now is automatically wrapped inside of there. What that means is that I can resize this to reflow the text. When we just click onto our comp window and start typing, it's just going to be one long line of text until we manually break that line with the return key. But doing it this way allows us to create text that's reflowable. Now, if you click over to the selection tool, don't do it. Just watch me. I just tried to resize this text area and I grabbed this side and it scaled disproportionately. So you definitely, if you want to resize your text area, you've got to use the text tool to do that. Okay, groovy. I'm going to get rid of that. That's just a little sidebar, kind of fun. Boop. All right, I'm going to unhide this. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reset my registration point. Right now it's at where I first started typing. So that's Command Option Home. Now it puts it in the center. Ooh. Let's see if that affects anything. It shouldn't. And then I'm going to center my text object, that layer in the composition in the center. So I'm going to use these align keys down here. And now that's in the center. All right, save your work before it crash. And we're going to quickly see one example of how we can manually create some of those presets that we've been seeing here. So the one that's visible, this layer here, I'm going to twirl that down. Actually, I'm going to hold down the Command key while I click on it so I can see everything. And I don't want to go full screen with this because I want to be able to see what I'm doing. So everybody look up on the screen real quick. See how when I get to this junction here between the composition viewer and the composition timeline, my cursor changes to this little like sandwich with arrows on it. If I click and drag up, I can give myself more rows and still keep my comp window open. Let's save our work. Now where it says transform down here, you can twirl that up because we're not going to use the transform. Everything we need is here within the text. So directly to the right of the word text, these are the text properties because this is a text object. The text properties are only visible on text objects. This one right here, animate, is the one that we want to click on. We're going to create a new, what's called an animator. We're going to animate position. Position. There we go. Now to the animator, we're going to add property opacity. So we clicked on animate to create the animator, and we're going to animate the position. And then within that animator, we're adding another thing we're going to animate, which is opacity. And the reason we have position and opacity in the same animator is this allows us to control them both at the same time, as opposed to adding an additional animator that we have to mess with. The position animation and the opacity animation are going to run over the same segment of time, so it doesn't make sense to repeat ourselves where we're just going to be doing once and applying to multiple things. For position, I want you to click into the second field for position. That's the Y position. And we're going to type 80 and then return. And what that did is it moved our text down 80 pixels. So we can imagine that this is going to be the starting point of our animation. And at the starting point, our opacity is going to be 0. Your playhead should be at the starting position. So when we set opacity to 0, your text should disappear. All right, again, make sure your playhead is at the start. If you hit the J key, it will go back to the beginning. Now, right above position and opacity, we have this range selector. It's called range selector 1. That's just its name because it's connected and underneath Animator 1. And if I twirl that down, I have start, end, and offset here. And I want you to select offset. So we twirled down range selector 1, and then we selected offset. And we're going to keyframe here. So I'm going to click on the stopwatch there. And I'm going to move my playhead out to about 15 frames. And now we're going to change. So notice when we hit that stopwatch, we created a keyframe at frame 0. And now we moved out to frame 15. And we're going to change the offset to 100%. And it will create a keyframe there at frame 15. Okay, now go ahead and scrub your playhead. And you should see each letter is sliding. If you scrub forward, each letter is sliding up and fading into place. If you want this to take longer, you can actually click on that keyframe on the offset layer and you can drag it out more. Like you can go out to 3 seconds if you want. What's happening is this animator is a collection of properties that allow us to control these things here, position and opacity. We're not keyframing position, we're not keyframing opacity. We're letting our range selector control that. So the position was set 80 pixels lower. And because this animation is operating a letter at a time, see how my letter is, let's zoom this in here. It's starting at the bottom, it's starting at 80 pixels in, and it's locking up, it's moving up into place. Let's look at something else here. I would like you to, on the Animator 1 here, there's this thing called Advanced. If you twirl that down, we have this thing here that says Based on Characters. If you click that drop down, you can choose words, and then your animation affects the words and not the individual letters. You can also decide to do it based on lines. That's each individual line of text. So you can do one line and a second line. Now, one more thing before we do this is we can adjust our animation a little bit. We can set our easing. So if you, there it is, under Advanced, there's Ease High and Ease Low. And remember, because the stopwatch isn't engaged, this isn't a keyframed thing. This is just a property. We're just going to set this property. So we're going to set Ease High to 20% and Ease Low to 100%. So that means it's going to come in fast and then slowly ease into place. Yeah, you really see it when you do the lines. You can see that line comes in and then slowly goes into place. All right, and then the last thing we're going to do is motion blur. So motion blur, it makes your animation go a lot smoother. and you enable it, it's a layer enabled option. So it's this guy right here. Just click that little checkbox there. And then your what you can see shows up as much. It's less like steppy and more fuzzy. That's the best way I can describe it.
You just have to click it and that's it.
All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move my animated text that I controlled, and I'm going to re-enable the other text that I added a object to, and I'm going to stack them like that. You can also engage motion blur on that other layer too if you want to take advantage of that. But what we want to do is basically that. Okay, so we're going to make sure that your comp timeline is selected. And then we're going to choose File, Export, Add to Render Queue. Because our comp is named the same as what we want our file to be named, it's given it to us right here already, but we need to make sure we choose the destination of where this file is going to. So you want to click on that. It's blue for a reason. The blue means it's a link. It's something that you can click on. And when you click on that, it gives you the option to choose a folder. And so we're going to choose today's folder that we created, GRC 53 2508 27. Once you've selected that folder, click Save and then hit the render button. Yay!